Today is a really special interview because it is Hispanic Heritage Month, Hispanic and Latinx Heritage Month. I couldn't get the words out. And I will be joined with Michelle. Hi, Tanya. And yeah, so this should be a really, really good interview. Can't wait for you guys to learn about Michelle, learn about her experience being Dominican American.
Hello, hello.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you here. That froze.
Ah,
It's doing it for me.
Thank you.
You're
How
welcome.
are you? Can you hear me good?
I can hear you. Yeah, you're good.
Okay, because I was debating if I should put my AirPods in.
Yeah, me too. But they're probably dead. But so you're good. I can hear you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. How are you doing?
Good. I'm in the city right now.
Oh.
Yeah, I was here doing some bonding with my team
Okay.
here for a couple of days.
Yeah.
Because now, excuse me, now that I work from home, I have like more time to actually come to the city. So
Exactly. Yeah. I know before it was like I know it's probably like harder for you to come to the city to travel back and forth.
so hard. Like
Yeah.
my job, I don't know what it was, because my job, any other job I've ever had, taking time off was never a problem because it was always on a like first come first served basis.
Okay. Yeah.
My old job, it was like you could send in your request a month ahead of time, 2 months ahead of time, but it's like you continuously have to ask and let them know, remind them like, hey, got that time request, don't forget.
That's annoying. So you're like on them just to get a day off.
Yep. For them to be like, a week before, like, oh, well, too many people requested that time. So I don't know if we'll be able to expect it. Like,
that's not fair. But
yeah.
I'm sorry about that. But I'm happy that you have moved on to a different, endeavor.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right,
It's
so let's get started. I was hoping more people would join in, but it's fine. People will come in as they come. So
yes.
let's just start by introducing you. So what is your name, your creative endeavor? If you want to talk about, talk about your job that you do, you don't have to. That's optional. And also your hometown and what country you're repping.
All right. Well, my name is Michelle Jimenez, for those who don't know me. My hometown, well, the country I'm repping is the Dominican Republic. Yeah. My home is Washington Heights. Upper Manhattan, for those who are not familiar with the Heights. Yeah. You said my current
like your creative endeavor?
So currently I'm working from home, showing people that there are other ways to go about building capital for our dreams, ambitions, and goals. Just helping people become more open-minded towards finances, period. How to get it, how to save it, how to keep it, how to multiply it. That's pretty much what I've been doing right now through the foreign exchange market. So I've been doing that, working at home, pretty much anywhere that I have Wi-Fi. So a lot of freedom, a lot of flexibility. And through that, I'm hoping to, or I will, through that, I will build my capital to explore other business ventures that I have planned in mind. And that's related to, social work. So I did go to school for social work. It's like in me. I can't escape that field. Helping people is really something that I enjoy doing. So I've been writing down, planning out business ideas for that field, and also trying to find a way to incorporate it with dance. So yeah.
You just put that in there smoothly, like with dance. I didn't see that coming, like with dance. Okay.
No, it honestly has helped me really open my mind to different things that, like, different possibilities. It's allowed me to think outside the box, honestly. Because before, I don't know who I had this conversation with, but they were like, why don't you find a way to incorporate both? I don't know if it was you.
Yeah, me and you were having a car conversation. It was like a car session. Yeah. It was us.
That honestly stuck with me. So I've been trying to about how I could incorporate the two so I don't have to feel like I'm choosing one over the other.
Absolutely. Wow. And I hope you continue and like you find a way to just put everything together. But the fact that you're finding financial freedom, that's amazing, because we'll get into that. We'll get into that question. So as we get started here, you introduce yourself to us, told us you're Dominican. So what are some stereotypes that you have heard about Dominicans growing up in New York City, specifically Washington Heights?
Well, the one that everyone is familiar with is that we're loud. I've heard, well, this is like throughout high school, because my high school was predominantly Hispanics. I went to George Washington, in the Heights. So it's one big building, but when I got there, they split it up into 4 different schools. So my school was on the 4th floor, majority Hispanics. There were maybe like 5 Black students in our school in total. Like, yeah, it wasn't a lot. So it was predominantly Hispanic. We're loud, we're obnoxious, we're alcoholics, we can party all night, and that's not a lie.
There's no truth to it.
And that we're loyal. One negative stereotype that I feel like I didn't really notice or realize until I got older was that Hispanic women were sexualized a lot.
Yes.
A lot.
I agree with that.
A lot. So that was a stereotype that it wasn't necessarily like voiced when I was in high school, but it was just certain things that I definitely noticed growing up, and, you know, changing environments, changing the group of people that I hung around. Like, I definitely became more noticeable as I got older.
Yeah, those are definitely true. I have seen that, like, growing up in the Bronx as well, Bedford Park, like, there was definitely a lot of Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, and I do feel like Spanish women are sexualized. Like, Black women are too, but I don't know, there's a thing about, I don't know if it's like because Spanish women, some know how to speak the language, so that's like a sexy language, and that entices men, and it's just like a whole bunch of lust, and I don't know. Like,
yeah,
it's weird.
No, I honestly don't even know where it comes from or how it started, but it's definitely like a general thing. It's like I've done that too. When someone asks me like, "Oh, what's your ethnicity? Where are you from?" and I say I'm Dominican, it's like, ooh, or
yeah, like, you exotic, ooh.
Like, okay.
But speaking of that, how do you find ways to dispel those like stereotypes, like within yourself, within your own life?
I find I just speak up, you know, when I feel I'm being placed in a certain category, or like someone's acting a certain way towards me because of where I'm from or my culture. I'll quickly like nip it in the bud. Like, all right,
I respect that.
Yeah, I don't know what it just popped into your head, but just quickly remove it, because whatever you think is about to go down is not about to go down. Not like that. So
that's also the stereotype of being submissive, like, and you are clearly not. You're like, no, this is it. Like, nope, cut it.
And I feel like that's where I've gotten, like, I'm not a typical Dominican woman, which is very terrible, to say the least. But yeah, no. I mean, I won't say that I'm not submissive, because, you know, depending on the situation, whoever I'm dealing with, that comes with, it's just, you know, if you're treating right, if there's respect, if there's mutual, you know, communication, agreements, understanding, then I feel like that comes with that. That I'm not, but it's just I have very low tolerance for disrespect and womanizers. So it's like I definitely can peep game, and it's like
I'm not here for it.
Don't try it.
Yeah, I like that. You're very strong in yourself, so that's beautiful.
And it took time, because when I was younger, I didn't have that kind of courage. It was like I would still peep things, but I didn't have the courage to speak up on it, because it never went past a certain point. But now I understand like how it kind of affects the next Hispanic woman by me not saying nothing, and this person thinking that they can just treat everyone the same way.
Yep. And that is the thing. I don't know what kind of playbook people live by, but it's like, if I treat one specific person a certain way, I could treat everyone the same. Like, it's not across the board. We're all different people, whether it's a specific culture or women in general. I don't like that. So thank you for that, for speaking up. And that's a perfect segue. So being that you are, you know, Dominican, you have a Dominican background, you were born in America, what are some challenges you face while growing up? I know you mentioned like speaking up for yourself, but are there any other challenges you face within your own like family or friends, like finding your identity with national and cultural ties?
Well, growing up, I would say it was finding like the right group that I actually fit into when it came to like friends. Because I'm, you know, for everyone that knows me, I'm super social. Like, I can have a conversation with anybody. I can befriend anyone. But I never felt like I had a group of friends. You know how you have like, oh, I have my top 5, my top 3, whatever the case may be. Like, now I definitely have that, you know, as I got older. But as a kid, it was just like, I was so curious about everything and wanting to try different things. It was like, if my friends wasn't on that type of timing,
yes,
it was like certain things we were close for. But I was pretty much like, I consider myself, especially in my family, the black sheep. So I befriended a lot of other black sheep, whether it was in their friend group or in their family. So that's kind of how, and I feel like the black sheep, person who considers themselves the black sheep is pretty much a very individualized person. Like, they like the lone wolf. They ride on their own. They may have, you know, their secure friends who they may call on, but it's like pretty much they're experiencing their journey on their own.
Yeah.
So that's and the reason why I consider myself the black sheep of my family is because of my curiosity and my independence. If I was something, I was gonna do it. Like, if somebody else didn't want to do it with me, I was like, okay, well, I still want to do this, so I'm gonna do it anyway.
Exactly.
And things I got in trouble for as a kid, it was like things like after school, it was the last day of cheerleading tryouts, and I didn't think I wanted to try out for the cheerleading team until the last day. This is just an example. My grandmother told me, I called my grandmother to let her know, like, I'm already at the school. Try happening today. I really want to do this. And she didn't understand it. She was just like, "Oh no, you need to come home now." So I ended up staying because I figured trouble. I mean, I'm in trouble, but I'm already here. So I ended up.
It's like, it'll be worth it, right?
Yeah. So it's like, growing up, it was a lot of that, like a lot of new experiences, adventures. But pretty much, I felt like no one else was on the same type of time as me, so no one else really had the same ambitions that I did, or the same interests. So I pretty much was like, oh, I'm gonna tell you about it, but if you're not gonna do it with me, I'm just gonna do it by myself, and then I'm gonna tell you how it was afterwards. Like, I always want to share the experience, even if someone didn't necessarily take on the experience with me.
Wow. But that all ties back into, like, you know, social work. I feel like that's the curiosity, wanting to help people, want to experience things for yourself, and then come back and saying like, hey, I tried this and this is how it went. That's beautiful. Now, within your family dynamic, like being here, and I know you just mentioned your grandmother, was there ever a moment when she was like, you know, you should be more American instead of like, I don't know, have you ever dealt with that, having to be more American and downplay being Dominican, or vice versa, or do you balance both?
I feel like it was never.
Give me 1 second. Let me turn this down.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I feel like it was never like plainly said in those words, but as you were asking the question, I definitely thought of some times where it was those subtle like hints to not be so American. And when I say that, like me going natural.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Hispanic culture, beauty, the idea of beauty is, you know, long straight hair. So had long straight hair for all my life because I've always had a perm. It wasn't until freshman year of college. It was just because I didn't have I was lazy to go and buy the products to perm my hair. So slowly I stopped perming my hair, learned how to do my hair by myself. So I was in my dorm, blow drying my hair, washing my hair. Like I didn't have I didn't keep up with that tradition because it was like every one, at least once every month, my hair was getting permed. So sophomore year, I did a big chop because I just wanted to do something different to my hair. Just dyeing my hair. At that point, I had already dyed it black. I did the ombre. I didn't now. And it was like, it was still me. Like the color, changing the color wasn't like changing what my hair looked like. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do something big. So when I did my chop, she was shocked. Nobody ever did that. Like,
and within your immediate family, or like your family?
My family. Period.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, like that concept of beauty, they really hold it, and they really.
It's deep. It's like embedded.
Yeah. Yes. Literally from generation to generation.
Yes, I was gonna say that. Yep.
So when I shaved my sides, that was
that was fire. That was so fire. That was good, but I know that was a major step. Like even you shaving your head was like.
Yes, I shaved both sides of my head. I pretty much had a mohawk, but my hair was so long it couldn't stay like up, and so I would put it over. Yeah, that was 2013. That was a good year. That was a good year. But that was a shock for her. Then my curls started developing, and me as a kid, me always perming my hair, I didn't even know my hair could curl. So when I started seeing the patterns, that excited me. Like I always wanted curly hair, always, but never get it. And I didn't understand that me perming my hair was the reason why my hair wasn't curling. So when my hair started to curl, started wearing my hair out more, and started little comments from my grandmother, like for holidays. The holidays, it was hard for me to transition to keeping my hair out natural, like holidays, events, interviews. Like I still found myself tying back my hair, pulling it back into a more conservative look because I felt like the afro wasn't gonna get me the job.
I agree with that. Yep.
Yeah. So little by little, I started wearing my hair out at events, at holidays, and my grandmother would come to me like, "Oh, you're not gonna do your hair?" And I'm like, "My hair is done.
It's done."
Yeah.
It took me a while to get these twists.
Yes.
Curls together. It's
not products. Like, come on. It took a while to get here.
Yeah.
But yeah, she would little comments like that. You're not gonna do your hair, or every time I would come and visit, and my hair was any way that you can see my curls, it was like a slick comment. So it was like little stuff like that. I was like, okay, I understand. You like your hair, and I do like it sometimes, but it's like most times, like, can you go back to how things were before? Your hair like that. So she's American or be less American. Dominican, it was just like you're doing these little changes that's not tied into our culture. So it was like, what are you doing? It was like you kind of deviating away from the plan. Basically. So that's yeah.
I feel like that's so whitewashed though, because I mean, as a baby, I assume or presume that you naturally, this is how your hair is curly. So then at what point did they start saying to you, like, let's straighten her hair? Because as a baby, you can't put perm in, children's hair. You can't put blow dryers or any, excessive heat into baby hair. So at what point did you start getting blowouts, and that just became like a normal routine for you?
You know what? If you have ever been to a Dominican salon, there are kids there.
And that's true. You're right.
I can't recall like what age I started doing my hair, but when I was younger was very long. Like I a baby picture I have. I think I was in first grade. I had my hair was sectioned into fours, and my hair was literally like past my shoulders, like my hair. So I feel like, I don't know, that's just like a thing. Like once you're old enough to handle the heat, I guess, you're going to the salons to get hair done. Like our parents do not want to deal with it. They do not want to struggle. They're just like, okay, you're going to go to the salon, get your hair done, and that's that. So I feel like I've always had like every 2 weeks I was always at the salon. That was just tradition.
We have to change that, and I'm glad that you are changing it. Even you, as you said, being the black sheep and doing something as drastic as hair, because that right there is like, what? Your hair says so much about you, and you being Dominican, coming from a traditional, traditional Dominican family that straightens their hair, that is major. Like, I
Yeah.
don't, I congratulate you for that, honestly, and just keeping up with it and not falling back into that trap. So do you still get like, do you still hear the slick comments like, oh, you should go do this or do something else with your hair? Because I know you also do braids. Do
Mm-hmm.
you still hear slick comments?
Sometimes.
Oh,
Not
okay.
and
All right.
not as direct as before,
Yeah.
but it be like I you can feel someone looking at you. I would
Yes. Yes. Yes.
feel her looking at me, and it's like, I know you want to say something, but she holds it in because
Yeah.
she
She's like,
understands this is just how I am. This is
yeah.
coming. It doesn't even matter, and it's crazy because when I had my mohawk, I remember going to the DR and talk about standing out like a sore thumb.
Ooh.
We had went out to eat, and one of the waiters really looked at me and was like, "You're not from here, are you?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he was like, "You don't live here, do you?" And I was like, "No, but I'm Dominican." Oh, I knew you wasn't from here because you look different. And it was like walking around with my family and being the one with my sides shaved, short hair. It was like everybody knew that uh I wasn't a resident. Everybody wasn't from there because that's not what they do. They don't explore with their hairstyles, and it's crazy because it's like, how can natural beauty be so glorified, and people look at it, and I love it, like, and like most Hispanic artists, they rock the natural look. So it's like, I don't know where that comes from. I don't know who created the standard of that, the beauty, but if you go out there and your hair is not straight and it's not long, they're looking at you like you don't belong here, you're not from here.
Yeah.
Or they know you wasn't born there.
But what is it like? Because I know Dominicans, there's so many, different skin complexions, hair textures. So for women, just like with any woman, for women who do have naturally short, kinkier hair, do you know their experience? Like, how do they get treated? Are they discriminated against? Or do you have any women in your family who have, I don't know, darker skin complexion or kinkier hair that's not necessarily long?
I've never heard of anyone being discriminated against. I feel like you're just looked at as different. Like, it wasn't until I cut my hair and I went natural that my sisters kind of like followed suit. But my sister, one of them, she has a shortcut, like short, and that is definitely non-existent in community. So I know she definitely gets looked at a lot. She gets a lot of looks. She has never said anything about being discriminated against, but I know it's definitely looks that come with that look. And then she's a tomboy, so short haircut, she's dressing up like a boy, quote unquote. So now that comes with assumptions, that comes with other thoughts, other than like, oh, she's not Dominican, or she's not your typical Dominican woman.
You had just mentioned, like, going to Dominican Republic, and I'd love to ask this question because being born, I guess, as a foreigner and then going back home, what was that experience like for you the first time you went to Dominican Republic, if you can remember, or maybe the second time? But what was that experience like for you being in Dominican Republic and being around, like, your family's homeland and your homeland?
The first time, I think I was 11, if I'm not mistaken. I actually do remember the first time, because I remember a lot of my cousins saying like, "Oh, I've been to DR before, but I was too little to remember." My family already had met me when I was a baby. That was just my first time, me, being able to recall me. It felt good. I mean, I know because you know, at home, my grandmother speaks to us in Spanish and we respond to her. That's just how we roll.
Oh my gosh. I was about to ask that too, but yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, at a time I did try speaking to her in Spanish, but it was like, for me and my sisters, when we were younger, it was just a comfort thing. If you can understand us in English, we know how to communicate to you better in English. So that honestly helped her improve her English, because she was an assistant teacher at a public school. So she worked with, you know, ESL kids, she worked with bilingual kids, but her Spanish, and it's crazy just thinking about how her English has improved over the years. But when we first started living with her English wasn't that good. So it was like, the more we spoke to her and communicated with her, the better her English got. So it was going from that environment to DR, where everybody, you have to talk in Spanish. They may in little parts, but you can't have a full blown conversation with them, speaking to them in English and they responding in Spanish. So being in that environment, I would say, helped improve my Spanish a lot, because I wanted to communicate with my family. So it's like,
of course,
I'm gonna figure out how to say it. But it felt like, I don't know, it's something about visiting an island, and the air is just like, it's like a relief that happens. Like,
it is, yes.
I don't know if it's like the way the buildings are structured. It feels like more like enclosed. Whenever I go to DR, it's like a fresh of breath air. So it felt relaxing. It felt familiar from my family, because they listen to music all day. So it's just a nice. It's like being in I wouldn't say a party, but it's like, I don't know, getting to hang around people that you really enjoy their company. Everybody has good vibes. Everybody genuinely like wants to communicate, talk about like technology out there. The way we can sit around at a table and everybody's on their phone here in America, that doesn't happen in DR. It's like, you're having conversations, you're really getting to know people, you're picking their brains, whatever the topic may be. So it's like, it's more I don't know if inclusive is the right word.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's definitely a great feeling. Like, I feel like the one year I went with my hair chopped, that was probably the one year I was like afraid, because I didn't know what reactions I would get from like my great grandmother at the time. And like other family members. But other than that, I mean, obviously the lifestyle is different. So there was a point in time where I did feel left out, and I felt like I could never live in DR, because it's like, although this is where majority of my family lives, it's not home to me. Like, it's such a difference that I may be comfortable around my family. I may be comfortable, like my grandmother has a house out there. Her plan was always to retire and then move like with us. But it was like the years that I visited, I was like, I couldn't live here. Like, the lifestyle that I have created for myself, you know, the way that I live, the resources that I have access to, I don't have it out there. So it's like, that would definitely be although, you know, that's my culture, it would be a culture shock for me if I was to live out there.
Yeah, and that's crazy, because the culture shock to happen just environmentally. I think that you bring up that point. Damn, man. I really wish, I always encourage people like, yeah, go back home, help. But for you actually have thought about it, and it's realistic. Like, I can't do this. This is not.
Like, I could do a couple months.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, a few months. But like,
I could do a couple
dedicate
months, like
your life to me, then it's like, oh.
No. I couldn't do it. I would feel so out of place. Like, that would take a lot of adjusting for me.
Yeah.
A lot of adjusting.
Yeah. And especially since you're an adult now, it's like you would have to restart all over again. And are you fluent now in Spanish more, or have you always been fluent in Spanish?
I would say I was more fluent when I was younger.
When you were younger, yeah.
That mainly was because I was surrounded by nothing but Hispanic people.
Yeah.
Now I'm not as surrounded, so I wouldn't say I'm fluent. I would say, like, you know, I would the word I always use is intermediate.
Yeah, I was gonna say intermediate level. Yeah.
Like my
Wow,
reading
man.
and my thing of it is still at the same level. I definitely I can read
Okay.
very well Spanish. My writing is a little shaky.
Yeah.
But speaking it now, I have a little more trouble.
Okay.
Often. So it's crazy because I had a conversation with my aunt once, and she noticed that I was speaking to her in English a lot. Because, like I said, when I'm home, that's just how we communicate with.
Protocol. Yeah.
And she made a comment. This is years ago. She made a comment like, "How come you're not speaking Spanish?" And I don't remember what I said to her, but her response to me was, make sure you don't lose that, because we have to make sure we pass that on to like our. And that made me realize, like, oh snap, like I'm slowly like losing the language. So now I'm definitely doing more things to incorporate, whether it's doing things in in Spanish when it comes to really just communicating and socializing more with Hispanic people, because I've always tried, because I noticed naturally I kind of stray away from the Hispanic group, and it's not on purpose. It's just naturally the excuse me, the Black culture, I it feels there's a comfort level there. Like I identify myself when it comes to my social environment more with Black culture. With Hispanic culture is like certain things. I don't identify with the culture all the time. So it's weird. It's like a weird back and forth, but that's why I love the fact that Afro Latina has become the new term for a way to really identify our historic background, my physical look, and my culture. Because I've always admitted my appearance, my personality, the way I carry myself is not your typical Dominican woman. But as Afro Latina, I feel like that's where I can identify more at, because it's including both cultures, and like both races that I feel like I identify myself with.
Yeah. And Afro Latina, is that more of like an American terminology, or is it something that's used like throughout, like, I guess, Hispanic countries, like actual countries?
I can't say if it's used more often out in Hispanic countries, but I know it's a term that Hispanic people are now really trying to own now.
Yeah.
Because ties it together. Like it's the perfect combination of where people kind of lie on that spectrum. Because I'm sure a couple of months ago the whole the whole racial battle between Dominicans identifying as Black, or recognizing that they are Black. I feel like when the term definitely came about before that, but when that happened, it was like, there's a reason why the term Afro Latina exists. It didn't just come from out of nowhere. Like this is our historic background that we have to acknowledge. So I don't know if it's a term that people are, willingly tying on to out in Dominican Republic or Puerto Rico or any Hispanic culture, just because it forces whoever is claiming that term to identify that they are Black, or to acknowledge that they are Black. So I don't think it's being taken very lightly or willingly in those areas, but definitely more for Hispanics that are residing in the United States, like our first, second, third generation. Like we're definitely claiming the term more, because it's like it's perfect. Like
you're fully acknowledging everything, like the complexities. I know we all are mixed up in our own way, but I feel like our history in itself, we all have a link back to Africa, and I feel like for so long we've tried to strip that away, and be like, no, we're not Black, we're not African, we're not related to that, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not true. Like, it's definitely
Right.
not true. Because you can see, like you said, in our features and your hair, where does this come from then? Because clearly it says it, you know, everything about me says it.
Mm-hmm.
I know that when we first started talking on live, you had mentioned, like, you know, financial freedom, and I just wanted to really pick your brain about, you know, Forex and really going deeper into like the importance of financial literacy, because we're taught, you know, your parents come from a different country, you're taught go to school, work, you know, do all the things like a good citizen, but now you are breaking the mold once again, being the Black sheep and leaving the traditional workspace and finding something for yourself. So can you just tell us, like, why is financial literacy important for first generationers or just anyone in general?
Oh, it's so important. And I feel like it's always something that I knew.
Yeah.
But honestly, and I don't want it to sound, you know, cliche or make it sound like I'm trying to hype up the opportunity that I'm a part of, because I'm really not. Like it really wasn't until I was a part of this platform that I realized how important it was to not only recognize the importance of financial literacy, but to actually do something about it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that recognize it. Oh yeah, it's important to save. Oh yeah, it's important to invest. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's important to really build and prepare for generations to come. But what are people actually doing to implement that and to put that in play? You know, the most I ever knew about financial literacy was having a savings account.
That's
I've
it.
yeah, that literally that was
That's
it.
really it. Yeah.
Countless times, like, make sure you have a savings account. When you get paid, you want to put some of that away. You want to, you
Yep.
know, I was never taught how to make my money work for me and how to multiply my money so that way, even if I was able to save up $100,000, it's not just sitting in my savings account, maybe a penny at the end of the year, you know? So it's so important because a lot of people don't realize that right now their only source of income is a source that COVID has clearly proven it's not. You can't depend on it.
Nope.
It's not secure.
It's not
Everyone
secure,
always, and
honestly.
even me, I always had that thought, like, as long as I have a job, I'm good. But I never considered the fact that you're only as good as your employer sees you. You're only as good as the value that you can provide to your organization that you're a part of. Once you're not valuable, once you're maybe moving on your own board, they're not seeing value in you anymore. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you're trying to do your own thing. Okay, you can do your own thing somewhere else.
Exactly.
Not
That's
here.
really what it is. Yeah.
Not here.
Yeah.
Like, you're not, and even schools too. Honestly, you're not. Your creative level, your creative thought process is not challenged. It's not pushed. It's not stretched so that way you can see what you're capable of. You can see what your potentials are. It's kind of just the norm. Like, you're literally coming here. We're giving you a schedule. We're giving you an itinerary. We're giving you requirements. You are to stay within these lines. You are not to step out of these lines for no reason. So through this opportunity, it's just a constant pull for me to really explore what I'm capable of, explore how I can actually help other people discover the same opportunities that I've been able to discover. And it's just a way for me to let people know that what we've been trained to do, because I'm not gonna say taught, like what we've been
trained. Yeah, you go to school and they're training you to get out there and
yeah.
be the best corporate person and look, like you said, you know, making your hair look a certain way, talk, even speaking a certain way. It's all for system. It's all systemic. Like, you have to play the part, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah,
That's what we're doing right now.
and I did not realize that until a couple of months ago. It's just like,
Yeah.
we are trained to follow the status quo.
Yeah.
I don't remember what I was watching yesterday, but they were saying, like, they saw in a video that said, oh, I think it was Shaquille. I was watching Shaquille's interview with you, and he was saying America is not trained, or America is not wasn't built for thinkers. They were built for workers.
Yes, and it's true.
So it's like
We
when you
do
think
it.
when you're in school, they teach you you have to learn this to get a good job. When you're in college, they teach you you need to go to this
Yeah.
specific school, because if jobs look at your resume and they see you graduated from this school, this would help you get that career. When you're in grad school, you're preparing for a career. They're not preparing you to work for yourself. They're not preparing you to have a certain understanding of finances and just business in general, for you
Mm-hmm.
to do things on your own, or for you to build your own capital. They're teaching you, they're training you to rely on someone else to be able to make the money, build the capital to build your dreams. So essentially,
Exactly.
you're building someone else's dreams and struggling to build yours.
Yeah, because you're waiting on a bi-weekly paycheck or whatever paycheck. You're just sitting like, once that money's gone, now you gotta wait for the next check, and it's like, but how do I see my way out of this continuous cyclical just bullshit? Honestly, like, how do we do that? And how do we gain the courage? Because our families, I know personally for me, our families are not saying like, oh, maybe you should try that endeavor. It's all about like, oh, you need to get a job so you have money and benefits, and that's it. It's really
Yeah.
all it is.
Honestly, I was nervous about what my grandmother's reaction would be, her finding out like that I quit my job.
Wow.
I didn't quit my job to um to pursue Forex further.
Mm-hmm.
Being a part of Forex and really learning the education, learning the skill, networking with people, who were exposing me to different opportunities, that helped me realize how miserable I was at my job.
Wow. That's real.
It wasn't, and I've been working since work study freshman year.
Yeah.
Ever
Yeah.
since I could work, I've been working, and I was always the person that had more than 2 jobs. Like that was always the joke between my friends. Like, oh, which one of your 5 jobs are you going to now? And it's like, because in my head, if I'm able to work, I'm making my own money. I want more of that. I want more.
Exactly. Yeah, we get greedy for money.
Yeah,
We
I
do.
want to do what I want to do.
Yes.
I don't want to be able to have to ask, my parents. I don't want to have to. No, when I want to do something, I want to know that I have the money to just go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
So 1 job wasn't enough, so I got 2.
Mm-hmm.
2 jobs was enough. I still had time. Maybe I'll get a part-time.
Wow.
But not realizing that I'm literally exchanging my time for money.
Yes.
So there was so much that I missed. Although I still was able to maintain a pretty decent social life. I don't know,
Yeah.
but I still made
But it
it
comes
work.
at a cost, though. You're probably not sleeping as much. Maybe
Yep.
not taking care of yourself. Like now we're getting into self-care and take time for yourself. But as a 18, 19, in your early 20s, who has time for, no, I want to party. I want to make money.
Yeah.
Fuck self-care. And now as we get older, we're like, all right, now we're starting to think back. Everything we did, having 3 jobs, that's not healthy for you. You are young. You're not living your best life because you're chasing money. So this is what we're trained to do.
That's exactly what I was doing. Chasing
Yeah.
money. I felt like that was the only way that I could just afford the life that I wanted to live at the time. And I mean, at that time, life was great. I didn't have I didn't have a care of, like, but I if I had the knowledge I have now, if I had it back then, oh my goodness, like, because money that was coming in for me, I was just spending it every week at the mall. Every week I wasn't doing anything that was giving me a return on my investment. I wasn't doing anything. And I had maybe like 2 friends who would constantly talk about like stocks or investing money. But it was like the education wasn't being taught to me. So I didn't understand it. So because I didn't understand it, they say like when you don't understand something, that's the perfect time for you to learn more about it or to like educate yourself about it. I didn't have the desire to at the time. I didn't understand what that would do to me or for me. I just knew, it could be good, but in my head I didn't have enough money to do that.
Yeah.
It was
I
just
feel like not even just that, the discipline as well. At a young age, as a teenager, you're not thinking about none of that long term. Or we're just thinking, okay, we're invincible at this point. We're just gonna spend and splurge. but we're not thinking for our later 20s, our 30s.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't in my mind. I just wanted to have fun and, like you said, party, buy clothes, and that's it. That was my major thing.
But that's the importance that I see now with this platform,
Yeah.
like showing people at a young age that
Yeah.
because you don't have the adulting responsibilities as majority, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some people who are at the age of 18, 17, 16, 19, or even 20 who do have huge responsibilities, like things that I never had to think of or worry about or consider at that age. So it's like if we are able to show the younger generation that there are so many ways to go about building your dreams, or even give them the opportunity to have dreams, because a lot of the younger generation, they don't have goals, they don't have aspirations, because they don't see it in themselves. That's not something that they can see themselves doing, or that's not something that they have placed their selves in.
Yeah.
And that's sad, because I feel like growing up I always had aspirations, like even if it was something that I didn't think was possible, like my mind always thought far. It was like my early 20s that it was just, okay, I gotta, land a good job to be able to have a good career in the field of work. Like, I don't know where in translation that got lost, but I was always a big thing when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But I feel like times are so much different now, that sense of independence and needing to grind and work hard to get what I need. It has a lot of people now, and the younger generation, working multiple jobs.
Yes.
So it's like you're literally enslaving yourself at a young age, and that's all that you're gonna know, because no one showed you, or no one is showing you that there's a different way to do it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that really changes the game when you can realize you're able to make money for your own and on your own time, and still have time and flexibility to do so much more.
Yeah.
So much more. So it's like, if we can put dreams back into these, and I don't want to call them children, because I feel like that makes me sound very, very old.
Yeah.
But if we can put
them
into the youth, we can put dreams back into them, like,
yeah,
the world. Oh, I can't even imagine, like, how things can change. Because if you notice, the past year has been, and I feel like COVID definitely pushed people further, but the past year has been the year of entrepreneurship.
definitely.
Like,
yeah.
the amount of people starting their own businesses, like, just really working for themselves, and creating a name for themselves, really working for their last name, so that way we're thinking about our generations to come now. I feel like for the longest it's always been like, me, I gotta do this for me right now, I gotta do this for maybe my family if I'm supporting my family. But now it's like, nah, I gotta do this so that way when I'm gone, there's something that's still, I'm still living, even though physically I'm not on the earth. There's still something that is being provided to my kids. There's still something that my family can benefit from, because it's like, we work so hard, but it's like, once we're gone, that's gone too.
It's gone. Yep.
So like, really instilling those thoughts now, like, how can I allow my name to live long after I'm gone?
Yeah, that legacy is important, and I think we need to that too.
We lost sight of that. We
definitely have, because we've been taught the whole cyclical nature of go to school, get a job, go to school, get a job. That's all we're teaching. That's all we've been taught. And I think even as first generationers, that's definitely ingrained in you, because that's all your parents know. That's all your grandparents know. Just get a job, get a check, and that's it. You'll be fine. Things will work out for you. And it's like, actually, no.
Right. If you think we've literally been passed down the struggle. Like,
we have. Yes. I love that you said that. That's so true. So freaking true. And we could have stopped it. Like, I feel like we had that advantage at 18, 19, going to school, being freshmen, you know, just going through college, you had that experience to just make something of yourself more than just getting a degree. But I don't think we had that knowledge then.
No,
We definitely
no.
didn't.
We didn't have anyone to expose us to that kind of knowledge. Like back then,
No.
I could, but being an entrepreneur, that was never a thought in my head. Like,
I didn't even think about that either.
No,
Yeah, I did not think about that.
In my head,
Wow.
The only thing that I could start up was doing hair or cooking. And I wasn't doing one of those. Like,
Neither.
I'm a business doing hair. I can't do hair, and I'm cooking. To be in the kitchen, or no, that's not something that sounds like I would enjoy. Like, I know it brings money, but it's not something that I would enjoy. Like, that's not my passion. Like, I don't know. That's not something that I definitely want to do. So it's so important to really have the right people around you, or expose yourself to the right kind of people, because that wasn't being exposed to us at that age. That's why it was thought that was in my head.
Yeah.
It was like, the only way for me to become an entrepreneur is whether I'm doing hair or I'm cooking. That's all I knew of at the time.
There's so much more to it.
Mm-hmm.
There was a question in here, like, while we were speaking. I think it's just going to take us back a little bit. So the question is from Namoma, and it was, what was your experience being, what has your experience been as a darker skinned Dominican woman? What has your experience been?
I feel like I have been treated, I don't want to say differently. I've been treated based on my physical appearance. So ever since like middle school, as far as I can remember, ever since middle school, people always thought that I was Black. Or if people literally come up to me and say like, "Oh, I know you're Black, but like, what else are you mixed with?" And I'm like, not mixed with anything, actually.
Right. Yeah.
So it was like, people just assumed, and my hair didn't look like this back then. So it was like, it was literally just based off of my skin complexion and the way that I speak. It was just, people automatically thought I was Black. So with the Black community, it was just like, I was accepted. With the Hispanic community, there are dark Hispanics. So it was like, I wasn't ostracized or anything like that. It was just like, I was able to fit into both. I never experienced any discrimination, because I lived in the Heights all my life until I moved to Buffalo for college. But anyone different prior to, or any situations that made me uncomfortable. I never really, my race and my ethnicity, it was never like, what am I trying to say? I never had to consider it until I was in Buffalo. Like, it was never an issue. It was like a reminder. Yeah, I was never constantly reminded of my culture or ethnicity. It was just like, in New York City, everybody's everywhere. So it was like, we were already being around all kinds of people. So it didn't really matter what race you were or what ethnicity you were, as long as you brought good vibes to be around. Like, that's really what it was. That's really like the New York state of mind. As long as you got a good vibe, you're good. It doesn't matter what race you are. Like, if we can converse, if we can, hang out, chill, and it's a good time, it doesn't matter where you are. But my sophomore year of college, I think it was my sophomore year of college was my first time experiencing discrimination. And when I always heard, I've heard people talk about their stories. I've heard experiences from other people, but I had never personally experienced anything. And I always wondered, and it wasn't something like, oh, I wanted to experience it. It was just like, how come? Like, how come that's not as big in one area compared to another? But I feel like it being not say, discrimination doesn't exist in New York, because obviously it definitely does.
Yeah. Everywhere, and that's everywhere. Yeah. So
Yeah, it was just
we have
like
2 minutes left. We
um
have 2 minutes
hmm?
left. We have 2 minutes left. I want to let you finish your point and then ask you one last question.
Okay.
Yeah. So my last question to you is, what is one thing you've learned as a first generationer, and what do you want other people to know about your experience?
Ooh, one thing I've learned, it's okay to break generational curses. I feel like there was a lot of times I feel like it was a lot of times that I held myself back from certain things because I didn't feel like I would get the support from my family or
Yeah.
friends. But it definitely came to a point where it was like, if I'm unhappy, I have to change that because I refuse.
Yeah.
I refuse. The type of person that I am and the type of children that I want to raise when that time comes, I want to, like I said, now as an adult, I speak up for myself a lot more. So it's like,
Yeah.
now that I found my voice, I want everyone to have that voice. Like, not
Mm-hmm.
allow anyone else to treat you differently just because, or to limit to limit your dreams, to limit your potential, limit the that you can do, because honestly every person has the possibility to change this world one way or another, even if
I
it's
agree with
small.
that.
So
Yeah.
that's something that I learned,
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
first, don't be afraid to break
Generation.
generational curse, because there's a lot, and think about why it is you do certain things and why you have certain thoughts and why you think a certain way. Think about where that all comes from. Who taught you?
We have 10 seconds. I love this. I need to have you back on. So thank you so much,